You ever feel like you almost missed the boat? You know, that moment when you realize that some things are better experienced at the point of their conception, where you're better off riding the wave at its height all the way down to where it evens out, instead of trying to surf after the wave has subsided, and the waters are calm, and the surfers have all gone home for the night. That's how I feel about quite a few games, but one in particular is The Last of Us. Thankfully, I caught the new TV show from the jump, and enjoyed every minute of the roller coaster ride that it took me on throughout the first season. While, honestly, I'll watch anything with the little brave Mormont girl and the internet's new dad, Pedro Pascal, in it.
I'm your daddy.
I could not have anticipated just how cool this show would be. It got me interested in the world of The Last of Us, and in doing so, I unfortunately spoiled a lot of stuff for myself while trying to sate that newfound curiosity. But even still, I'm super hyped for the upcoming PC release of The Last of Us Part 1, and you should be too. Let's get a blast from the past as we'd like to do on this channel, and take a look at some of my favorite games that fit somewhere into the mold of the three genres that make up The Last of Us. Now, I could talk all day about games I love,
God, you ever shut up, pal?
but I'm going to limit this list as it were to one single game from each of those respective genres that I feel reminds me in some way of what I've seen of the gameplay and the spirit of The Last of Us Part 1. Now, I've always been a disorganized person myself, but we wouldn't be human if we didn't have things to work on, would we? So, kicking off my list is going to coincidentally also be the newest game on this list. Although that's a technicality and you'll see what I mean later, it's quite possibly also a game I will make a separate video on in the future, so without further ado, that game is none other than The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. While far from being my first foray into the wondrous world of Zelda games, Breath of the Wild reminds me most of The Last of Us in that you have two primary characters, and one is very much trying to protect the other, while simultaneously having to be protected and aided by the one they so desperately want to protect. Now, that irony bleeds through to me in both games, and it does so in the most beautiful of ways. Just like in The Last of Us with Joel and Ellie's love and concern for one another, both Link and Zelda very much share in that same desire to protect the other at any cost. Now, obviously, the dynamic is different, but one other way these games are alike is perhaps the most obvious reason of all. They both take place in a post-apocalyptic world where our main characters are trying to not only survive the dangers wrought by that doom, but also, at least for a time, hope to save that world from its current dire state. Additionally, they each in turn do whatever good they can in the world by helping those in need and stomping out evil outright. Now, while Link in his current incarnation is no daddy of the internet, and Ellie is far from a princess dressed all in pink, we can imagine, and indeed have seen, what a more boyish Zelda and a more manly Link could look like. And it's pretty great. Next up, we're going to be talking about a game I thoroughly enjoyed from start to finish, and even enjoyed playing online for a bit after the fact. A game that I don't get much excuse to talk about these days, and a game that I feel deserves so much praise. That game is Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots. Now, you might be thinking, what, Tiger, you're crazy, but hear me out. Both games feature a heavy emphasis on stealth play over the typical run and gun play style, and both games feature leading men who are old, grizzled, and cynical, but oh so dependable in a fight. The stealth sections I've seen in The Last of Us Part 1 definitely remind me of sneaking through the war-torn streets in that opening level of Metal Gear Solid 4. And the fact that both Metal Gear and The Last of Us make it a point to express just how our main men are not in their prime anymore, it really drives home the similarities that I mean to highlight here. There's more to compare here too, but I do mean to keep this mostly spoiler-free, so I'll just leave it at that and say both of these characters are amazing, and I think they would respect each other if they ever got a chance to meet. Now, on to the last of the three genres we're comparing here with survival horror. And my choice for this section is a bit of a cheat, I admit. I'm choosing Resident Evil 2 as it was my first personal journey into the genre. However, I would be lying if I said I didn't completely love the Resident Evil 2 remake as well. Both versions of RE2 are chocked full of memorable moments, exciting boss encounters, and great stories to tell for the genre. The one game I want to slip in here as well, though, is one I regrettably did not get around to playing in its prime. A mistake I definitely hope to remedy with its remake being released just a few days ago at the time this video is going online. That game is none other than Resident Evil 4. What's not to compare here? All three of these games share the frightening setting of a post-apocalyptic world, even if the Resident Evil games are set in sort of the midst of the chaos rather than many years after the fact. And also, to compare our main characters, Leon very much takes on the Joel-like protector role. Which brings me to The Last of Us. Now, I could go on and on about this game despite not having played it in its prime, but I can say with certainty though that after watching the show and after waiting up every Sunday with anticipation for that night's episode to drop, and after seeing it through all the way up to the season finale, I am undoubtedly a fan, cordyceps and all. I plan to get this game when it releases next week, so don't be surprised if you hear me talking about it more in future videos. Joel and Ellie's story has me truly excited for another single-player experience. And for those who know me best, you know just how rare of a statement that is these days. I really just can't wait to experience the many beats from the show for myself, playing through them in real time in a way that only gaming allows for. I know that some of the experiences will differ from the show, and I'm honestly okay with that. The spirit of their story as well as the gameplay is really all that I'm interested in, and regardless of whether there is hope or heartbreak at the end of that story, it's a good feeling to be excited for a new game. A feeling I hope every one of you gets to share in as well. Even if it's not The Last of Us that has you ready to pick up the controller, we all deserve a little respite at the end of the day. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video this week, and I want to thank you for stopping by and supporting the channel. I'm going to keep putting out more content, so don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out. I'd love to hear what game or games you're most excited for right now, so be sure to let me know in the comments below. Is there anything right now that piques your interest? Either way, I'll be back next week, and who knows, maybe I'll see you there.